I did, yeah. I'd been carrying it around with me in my rucksack for about 3 weeks before that, and I literally would not let it go. Everywhere I went, I was keeping hold of it because I knew this thing, if it disappeared, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, because I planned it, it went fine. As you know, you'll hear a lot of horror stories about proposing and things going horribly wrong. It went really, really well, and yeah, I was really pleased that she said yes.
After months of silence and endless speculation, Prince William finally stepped forward with news that left the world stunned. Catherine, Princess of Wales, had given birth to their fourth child, a daughter whose name would honour the past while reshaping the future.
Well, I think when you said, I actually went bright red when I met you and sort of scuttled off, feeling very shy about meeting you. But and actually, William wasn't there for quite a bit of the time. Initially, he wasn't there for Freshers' Week, and so it did take a bit of time for us to get to know each other.
But the emotional weight of this announcement proved overwhelming. As William revealed the carefully chosen name, Catherine's composure shattered under the pressure of legacy, loss, and love. The name that would change everything was about to be spoken. Catherine, Princess of Wales, had always been skilled at maintaining her privacy, even under the intense scrutiny that comes with being one of the most photographed women in the world. For months, speculation had dominated headlines across Britain and beyond. Newspapers had published countless articles theorizing about every aspect of the situation. Social media platforms buzzed with predictions and discussions. Royal correspondents filed daily reports, analysing every public appearance and absence for clues. Despite all this attention, the palace had remained characteristically silent, offering no comment beyond the most basic official statements. Prince William spent much of that morning in his private study, a room that had witnessed generations of royal decision-making. The desk where he sat belonged to his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, and he often found himself thinking about the weight of history when he worked there. The decision they were about to share with the world was not simply a personal matter. It carried implications for the royal family's future, for public perception of the monarchy, and for the legacy they would leave their children. He thought frequently during those days about his mother, Princess Diana, and how she had handled similar moments with remarkable composure despite the enormous pressure. He considered his father, King Charles, who had spent decades preparing for his role and understood better than most the expectations attached to every royal announcement. The decision to have a fourth child had surprised many observers. After Prince Louis was born in 2018, most people assumed the Wales family was complete. 3 children seemed like a natural stopping point, a balanced family unit that fit neatly into public expectations. Prince George, as the future king, carried the weight of his position with the innocence of childhood. Princess Charlotte had captured hearts worldwide with her confident personality and spirited presence at royal events. Prince Louis, the youngest, had become something of an internet sensation with his animated facial expressions during public appearances. The family appeared settled and content. However, life rarely follows the exact path we plan for it, a reality that Catherine and William had discussed many times during their marriage. The pregnancy announcement had come as genuine news to the public, and even to some members of the extended royal family. Catherine had wanted to wait before making any official statement, preferring to be completely certain before inviting the inevitable media storm that would follow. She had learned from her previous pregnancies that public attention during such a personal time could be overwhelming and exhausting. The severe morning sickness that had affected her during previous pregnancies returned, forcing her to step back from scheduled public engagements for several weeks. During these quiet months away from the public eye, the press speculation intensified. Some publications suggested problems that simply did not exist, reading meaning into every cancelled appearance and every day without a public statement. Catherine weathered this period as she had learned to weather many challenging situations since joining the royal family. She had observed how Princess Diana's every move had been analysed and criticised, often unfairly. She had seen the toll that relentless public attention could take on mental health and family relationships. At the same time, she had studied Queen Elizabeth's approach to royal duty, the way the late Queen had balanced personal sacrifice with public service throughout her 70-year reign. From these examples, both positive and cautionary, Catherine had developed her own approach to royal life. She prioritised her children's well-being and mental health while still fulfilling her responsibilities to the institution and the country. It was a delicate balance that required constant adjustment and careful thought. The birth itself had been managed with remarkable privacy, which was no small achievement in an era of instant communication and constant social media updates. Catherine delivered at the Lindo wing of St Mary's Hospital, as tradition expected, but the usual media circus had been deliberately scaled back. There were no crowds of photographers camping outside for days before the birth. No announcement was made when labour began. Instead, the palace simply released a statement after the fact, confirming that mother and baby were both healthy and recovering well. The baby's gender was revealed in that initial statement. The Wales family had welcomed a daughter, their second princess. However, one crucial detail was conspicuously absent from the announcement. The baby's name remained undisclosed, guarded as carefully as any state secret. This decision to delay the name announcement was deliberate and significant. Names matter enormously in royal circles, carrying layers of meaning that extend far beyond personal preference. In the rooms of Windsor Castle, surrounded by portraits of ancestors and furnishings that had served previous generations, William and Catherine prepared for the moment when they would share their choice with the world. The palace communications team had been working for weeks on the announcement strategy. Official statements had been written, reviewed, and rewritten multiple times. Every single word had been carefully considered for how it might be interpreted or misinterpreted by different audiences. This was not merely about introducing a new member of the family to the public. It was a statement about the direction the monarchy was heading, about the values that would guide the next generation, about finding the right balance between honouring centuries of tradition and acknowledging the need for change. The name they had chosen carried deep significance on multiple levels. It was not a decision they had made quickly or easily. Weeks of conversations had taken place, involving not just William and Catherine, but also King Charles and other senior royals. Each potential name had been carefully examined for its historical connections, its likely public reception, and its personal meaning to the family. Some names were immediately ruled out as too controversial or too politically charged. Others were set aside as either too common or too unusual. The name they ultimately selected represented a careful bridge between past and present, a way to honour those who came before while looking forward to the future their children would inherit. As the clock moved toward the scheduled announcement time, the weight of the decisions settled over them. They knew that whatever name they chose would be analysed endlessly by experts and casual observers alike. It would appear in history books and be discussed by royal commentators for years to come. More importantly, it would become part of their daughter's identity, shaping how she was perceived and perhaps even influencing the person she would become. The responsibility of choosing wisely felt enormous, yet they were confident they had made the right choice for their family and for the institution they represented. To truly understand the significance of any royal name, it helps to look back at the history of naming within the Windsor family and the broader British monarchy. Every name chosen for a royal child functions as more than just a label. It serves as a message, a declaration of values and priorities, and often a subtle political statement. When Princess Elizabeth Alexandra Mary was born in 1926, nobody could have predicted that she would become Britain's longest reigning monarch. Each of her names connected her to previous queens and established her position within a royal lineage stretching back centuries. Similarly, when Prince Charles Philip Arthur George was christened, every name carried the weight of royal ancestors and represented the hopes of a nation still recovering from the devastation of war. The tradition of royal naming has developed over hundreds of years, shaped by political considerations, religious factors, family loyalty, and public opinion. In earlier periods, names were chosen primarily to honour previous monarchs or to strengthen political alliances between royal houses across Europe. Names like Mary and Elizabeth, James and Charles appeared repeatedly throughout the family tree, creating a sense of continuity and connecting each new generation to those that came before. The 20th century brought significant changes to this tradition, just as it transformed virtually every other aspect of royal life. Princess Diana had broken conventions with her sons' names in ways that were both subtle and profound. William Arthur Philip Louis represented a departure from the heavily Germanic names that had dominated the family for generations following Queen Victoria's marriage to Prince Albert. The choice to use William as the first name, rather than placing it in a middle position, signalled a return to English roots and a conscious step away from the family's German heritage. When Prince Harry was born, formerly named Henry Charles Albert David, The casual use of Harry rather than the formal Henry suggested a desire for their sons to have some degree of normality, even within the highly structured world of royal life. Catherine and William had continued this gradual evolution with their own children's names. Prince George Alexander Louis honoured the king's formal title while including Alexander, a name without any direct royal precedent in recent British history. The choice sparked considerable discussion among royal watchers and historians. Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana made headlines worldwide for its inclusion of Diana, marking the first official acknowledgement of William's mother in a royal child's name since her death in 1997. The middle name Elizabeth paid tribute to the late Queen, while Charlotte itself connected back to King George IV's daughter. Prince Louis Arthur Charles completed the set, honouring Prince Philip's uncle Louis Mountbatten, while including Arthur, a name beloved by the British public for its legendary and historical associations. Each of these naming decisions had been examined in extraordinary detail by experts and everyday observers alike. Royal historians wrote lengthy analytical pieces about the significance of each choice. Betting companies took wagers on potential names before each birth, with millions of pounds staked on everything from traditional choices like Mary and Alice to more modern options like Grace or Ivy. The British public invested emotionally in these decisions, feeling a sense of connection to children they would never personally meet, but who would one day represent them on the global stage. The pressure to make the right choice was immense. A name perceived as too modern might be interpreted as a rejection of tradition and could alienate conservative supporters of the monarchy. A name that seemed too traditional might appear out of touch, suggesting a failure to recognise that the institution needed to evolve to remain relevant in contemporary society. A name honouring one side of the family while neglecting the other could trigger accusations of favouritism or disrespect. Every possible angle needed to be considered, every potential criticism anticipated and addressed before the announcement. William had spent considerable time in the royal archives, examining family trees and historical documents. He consulted with historians and constitutional experts, seeking their perspectives on the appropriateness and significance of various naming options. Catherine approached the question from a somewhat different angle, considering not just the historical weight, but also the practical reality of the name their daughter would carry. How would it sound in everyday situations? Would their daughter face teasing or difficulties because of it? Could it be shortened to a friendly nickname that she might prefer as she grew older? These parental concerns existed alongside the more formal considerations of royal protocol and tradition. The couple also had to consider the international implications of their choice. While the British monarchy no longer ruled over a vast empire, it remained the symbolic head of the Commonwealth, a voluntary association of 56 nations spanning every continent and representing billions of people. The name they chose would be heard and used by people across vastly different cultures and linguistic contexts. It needed to be pronounceable in multiple languages, culturally appropriate, and capable of representing not just Britain, but the diverse Commonwealth that the monarchy now served. There were names that Catherine loved, but William had concerns about, and vice versa. Family members offered suggestions that were politely acknowledged and sometimes quietly set aside. King Charles reportedly favoured certain traditional options, while Queen Camilla advocated for something slightly more contemporary. Prince Harry, despite the ongoing tensions within the family, had apparently sent a private message suggesting a name that held personal significance for both brothers, though the details remained private. Princess Anne characteristically stayed out of the debate, though she reportedly remarked to a friend that whatever name they chose would inevitably be criticised by someone, which was simply the nature of public royal life. The official announcement came through carefully orchestrated channels. At precisely 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Palace Press Office released a statement to the Press Association, following protocol that had been established generations earlier. The words were simple, elegant, and chosen to convey both joy and appropriate seriousness. The Prince and Princess of Wales were delighted to announce that their daughter had been named Rose Alice Diana. 3 names, each carrying multiple layers of meaning that would fuel public discussion and analysis for weeks to come. The choice of Rose as the first name sent immediate ripples through royal circles and far beyond. Unlike the names chosen for their previous children, which had clear precedents in recent royal history, Rose represented something slightly different. It was a name that evoked the very symbol of England itself, the Tudor rose that had united warring factions and helped establish a new dynasty. It was also deeply personal, a tribute to Catherine's grandmother, Rose Asquith, a woman who had helped shape Catherine's early years and instilled in her the values of family loyalty and quiet strength that had served her well in royal life. But Rose carried other historical resonances as well. The name connected the baby princess to Rose Bowes-Lyon, one of the Queen Mother's closest friends, a woman who had provided unwavering support during the difficult days of the Second World War. It echoed through other branches of the extended royal family. The name managed to be both traditional and fresh, familiar yet distinctive. It avoided the pitfalls of being either too common or too unusual, striking that delicate balance the Wales family had sought throughout their deliberations. Alice, the first middle name, carried equally profound significance. Most obviously, it honoured Princess Alice of Battenberg, Prince Philip's mother, a woman whose remarkable life had only recently received the widespread recognition it deserved. Alice had been born deaf, yet she learned to lip read in multiple languages and became a formidable presence in European royal circles. During the Nazi occupation of Greece, she hid a Jewish family in her palace, risking her own life to save others. She founded a nursing order and devoted her later years to charitable work. Her courage, compassion, and commitment to service represented exactly the values that William and Catherine hoped to instill in their children. But Alice also reached further back into British royal history. Princess Alice Maud Mary, Queen Victoria's third child, had been one of the most influential royals of her generation, using her position to advance causes she believed in and refusing to be confined by the limited expectations placed on women of her era. Diana, the second middle name, surprised no one yet still managed to be deeply moving. William had already honoured his mother with Princess Charlotte's middle name, but the inclusion of Diana in his second daughter's name underscored her enduring significance in his life and legacy. 27 years after her death, Diana remained one of the most recognised and discussed figures in modern British history. The public reaction was instantaneous and overwhelming. Social media platforms filled with commentary and analysis within minutes. Rose began trending worldwide almost immediately. Florists reported sudden increases in orders for roses of every variety. Baby name websites experienced crashes under the weight of traffic as expectant parents rushed to consider Rose for their own children. Royal correspondents provided rapid analysis across television networks and online platforms, with experts explaining the historical significance of each name component. To understand why Rose Alice Diana represented such a carefully considered choice, it helps to look beyond the individual names themselves to the broader context of the monarchy's current position in British society and the world. The British royal family found itself navigating complex challenges, caught between competing pressures to modernise while maintaining tradition, to appear relatable yet preserve a certain mystique, and to justify its continued existence in an age of increasing questions about inherited privilege and institutional relevance. Every decision the royal family made, from the clothing they wore to the causes they supported, carried symbolic weight and potential for controversy. The choice to name their daughter Rose, a quintessentially English name with deep roots in national symbolism, could be interpreted as a reassertion of the monarchy's connection to British identity at a time when that very identity was being questioned and renegotiated across the country. Brexit had created deep political and emotional divisions within the United Kingdom. Scotland continued its ongoing debates about independence from the Union. Northern Ireland's hard-won peace remained fragile and required constant attention. Wales was asserting its own distinct cultural and political identity with increasing confidence. The United Kingdom was, in many ways, anything but united, and the monarchy's traditional role as a unifying force had been challenged more directly than at any point in recent history. Rose, the flower that had symbolised the resolution of civil war and the birth of a new royal dynasty under Henry VII, represented hope for reconciliation and unity. Whether consciously intended or not, William and Catherine were invoking that historical symbolism, suggesting that their family and the institution they represented could still serve as a common point of identity for a fractured nation. The inclusion of Alice carried different but equally significant messages. By honouring Prince Philip's mother, William was acknowledging his grandfather's profound influence on his life and on the monarchy as an institution. Prince Philip had been the longest-serving consort in British history, and his death in 2021 had left a void that was still deeply felt throughout the family. More than that, Princess Alice represented qualities that the modern monarchy desperately needed to embody if it was to maintain public support. Her life demonstrated courage in the face of adversity, compassion that translated into concrete action rather than mere words, humility despite enormous privilege, and service that went far beyond ceremonial duties and photo opportunities. Princess Alice's story of hiding Jewish refugees during the Holocaust had only become widely known in recent years, thanks partly to dramatic portrayals in popular television series and documentaries. Her recognition as Righteous Among the Nations by Yad Vashem had elevated her from a minor footnote in royal history to a figure of genuine moral authority. By invoking her name, William and Catherine were aligning their daughter, and by extension, the entire royal family, with values that transcended nationality and religion. Basic human decency, moral courage, and the willingness to risk everything for what was right, these were principles that resonated across cultural and political divides. Diana, of course, remained the most emotionally charged element of the name. 27 years after her death in 1997, William's mother continued to cast a long shadow over the royal family and public perception of the monarchy. Her legacy was complex and remained contested in many ways. To some observers, she represented everything positive about modern royalty, including warmth, accessibility, genuine compassion for those who were suffering, and a willingness to break outdated protocols that served no real purpose. To others, she embodied certain dangers, including emotional decision-making that could destabilize the institution, manipulation of media attention for personal purposes, and the prioritization of individual feelings over institutional stability. William had spent his entire adult life trying to honor his mother's memory while avoiding what he viewed as her mistakes. He had learned valuable lessons from watching her use media attention strategically to advance her charitable causes and bring attention to issues that might otherwise have been ignored. But he had also witnessed how that same media attention had ultimately consumed her, contributing to the circumstances that led to her tragic death. He had absorbed her teachings about the power of human connection and the importance of showing up for people in their darkest moments. At the same time, he recognized that the institution required certain boundaries and protocols to function effectively over the long term. By naming his daughter Rose Alice Diana, he was making a clear declaration that Diana's legacy would not be forgotten, minimized, or gradually erased from royal history. Her contributions to modernizing the monarchy and changing public expectations of royal behavior would be acknowledged and built upon by future generations. The name also served as a subtle rebuke to those who had sought to diminish Diana's impact in the years following her death. For a considerable period after the tragedy, the royal family had seemed almost reluctant to mention her name publicly. King Charles had moved forward with his relationship with Camilla. Queen Elizabeth had maintained a studied neutrality on the subject. Only William and Harry had consistently championed their mother's memory, and Harry's departure from royal duties had complicated even that tribute in recent years. Now with Rose Alice Diana, William was ensuring that his mother's name would be spoken in royal circles for generations to come, carried by a princess who would represent the future of the monarchy. The name would appear in official documents, be spoken at state occasions, and feature in history books written decades or even centuries from now. Family reactions to the announcement were more private than the public response, but no less significant in their own way. King Charles released a brief official statement expressing his delight at his granddaughter's name, noting that it honored multiple branches of the family tree in a manner that spoke to the unity and continuity he had long advocated for during his years as Prince of Wales. Queen Camilla was photographed leaving Clarence House with a broad smile on her face, though she declined to offer any comment to the journalists and photographers waiting outside. Prince Harry and Meghan sent a private message of congratulations from their home in California, representing a rare moment of communication between the brothers whose relationship had been strained for several years following Harry and Meghan's departure from royal duties and their subsequent public interviews. The content of that message remained confidential, but sources close to the situation suggested it was warm and genuine, focusing on the joy of new life rather than dwelling on past disagreements and hurt feelings. Princess Anne, true to her characteristic form, offered a typically understated assessment when asked about the name during a public engagement. She reportedly described it as a perfectly sensible choice, which, from Anne, known for her no-nonsense approach to royal duties, constituted high praise indeed. Prince Edward and Sophie expressed their particular pleasure at the continuation of the Alice name within the family, given Sophie's own middle name and her close relationship with the late Prince Philip, who had been a mentor and source of support to them over the years. Even some of the more distant relatives, those who typically avoided making public comments on family matters, found themselves drawn into conversations about what this naming choice might signal about the monarchy's future direction and the values that would guide the next generation of royals. The announcement had sparked discussions not just about one baby's name, but about the institution itself, its relevance in modern society, and the path it might take in the years ahead. The name Rose Alice Diana was more than a personal choice. It was a statement of intent, a bridge between past and present, and a signal about the kind of monarchy William and Catherine hoped to shape for the future. Whether it would achieve all that they hoped remained to be seen, but the careful thought behind the choice was evident to anyone paying attention. The christening of Princess Rose. Alice Diana took place 6 weeks after her birth, following a tradition that stretched back through centuries of royal history. The Chapel Royal at St James's Palace provided an intimate and historically significant setting for the ceremony. The chapel's ancient walls had witnessed countless royal christenings over the generations, including those of Rose's older siblings and many royals who came before them. The guest list was carefully curated and deliberately limited to close family members and a small number of godparents who had been chosen for their personal significance to William and Catherine rather than their social status, political influence, or public prominence. The photographs released after the ceremony were carefully selected to tell a particular story. Princess Rose, dressed in the Honiton lace christening gown that had been worn by generations of royal babies since its creation in the 19th century, appeared peaceful and content in her mother's arms. Catherine's expression radiated genuine happiness and a sense of contentment that seemed to come from knowing that her family was now complete. Prince William stood beside her, one hand resting gently on Prince George's shoulder, the other holding Princess Charlotte's hand, while Prince Louis peered with evident curiosity at his new sister. The image presented a portrait of family unity and stability that the palace communications team hoped would come to define the Wales household in the years ahead. As the official photographs circulated through media outlets worldwide and commentators praised the ceremony's dignity and traditional grace, fundamental questions about Princess Rose's future remained unanswered. What role would she ultimately play in the royal family's continued evolution? How would she navigate the peculiar and often contradictory challenges of being born into extraordinary privilege while simultaneously being expected to justify that privilege through a lifetime of public service? What causes might she choose to champion as she grew older? What kind of person would she become, shaped by the unique pressures and opportunities of her position? History offered some guidance for these questions, but no definitive answers or guarantees. Princess Anne had forged a remarkable path for herself as the Princess Royal, becoming arguably the hardest working member of the royal family while maintaining a fierce commitment to personal privacy and bringing a practical, no-nonsense approach to royal duties. Princess Margaret, the late Queen's sister, had chosen a very different route, one that brought glamour, excitement, and cultural influence, but also scandal, controversy, and personal sadness. Lady Louise Windsor and her brother James, the children of Prince Edward and Sophie, were demonstrating yet another way forward in the modern era, living relatively normal lives with university education and career aspirations, while still participating in royal events and duties when called upon by the family. Catherine and William had discussed these various precedents at considerable length during their private conversations about their children's futures. They understood clearly that they could not simply impose a predetermined path on their daughter. Rose would need the space and support to discover her own way forward, guided by the values they instilled in her, but not controlled or suffocated by rigid expectations. The key, they believed, was to establish the right foundation early in her life, teaching her that privilege always came with corresponding responsibility, and that being a princess was fundamentally about service to others rather than personal status or special treatment. If they succeeded in that foundational teaching during her childhood years, they trusted that the rest would follow naturally as she matured. The broader question of the monarchy's long-term future hung over these private discussions like an invisible but ever-present weight. Public opinion polling continued to show divided attitudes about whether Britain actually needed a royal family at all in the 21st century. Surveys generally indicated majority support for the monarchy, particularly among older citizens who had grown up during Queen Elizabeth's long reign. However, younger generations were increasingly questioning the institution's relevance, value for money, and compatibility with democratic principles. The Platinum Jubilee celebrations for Queen Elizabeth in 2022 had demonstrated that genuine affection for the monarchy still existed across the country, but careful analysis suggested that this affection was increasingly focused on specific, well-liked individuals rather than the institution as a whole. William and Catherine understood that they personally represented the monarchy's best realistic hope for continued public support in the decades ahead. Opinion polls consistently showed their approval ratings outpacing those of other senior royals by significant margins. Their family life appeared stable, loving, and relatable in ways that resonated with ordinary people navigating their own family challenges. Their children seemed remarkably grounded despite their extraordinary circumstances and the constant media attention they received. The couple had successfully navigated various scandals and controversies that might have permanently damaged less resilient partnerships. They had demonstrated through their actions that it was possible to modernize certain royal practices and make them more accessible without completely abandoning core traditions that connected them to centuries of history. Princess Rose's birth and the careful consideration given to her naming fit naturally into this broader strategy of controlled, gradual evolution. By choosing a name that honored multiple aspects of royal history while still feeling contemporary and meaningful to modern audiences, they were demonstrating that the monarchy could adapt thoughtfully to changing times without losing its essential identity and historical continuity. By welcoming a fourth child when many observers had assumed their family was complete, they were showing that royal families could make personal choices based on their own wishes rather than simply following predetermined scripts or meeting expectations set by protocol officers. By releasing carefully selected but seemingly genuine photographs and information about their family life, they were satisfying legitimate public interest while still maintaining appropriate boundaries around their privacy. However, strategy and careful calculation could only accomplish so much. Princess Rose was not simply a piece in a larger game of institutional preservation. She was a human being who would inevitably develop her own distinct personality, interests, passions, and desires as she grew from infancy through childhood and into adulthood. She might embrace royal life with enthusiasm and dedication, finding genuine fulfillment in public service and charitable work. Alternatively, she might rebel against its constraints and expectations, seeking a different kind of life away from constant scrutiny. She might become a powerful and effective advocate for important causes that desperately needed royal attention and support. Or she might prefer to work quietly behind the scenes, contributing in ways that generated less media attention. She might remain in Britain throughout her life, or she might seek opportunities and experiences abroad, following her own path wherever it might lead. The name Rose Alice Diana gave her a meaningful framework and connected her to a powerful legacy of remarkable women who had come before. But ultimately, that name could not and would not determine her destiny or define the person she would become. Those outcomes would depend on countless factors, including her own choices, the guidance she received, the experiences she encountered, and simply the person she inherently was, beneath the titles and expectations. Evening settled over Windsor Castle. On the day of Rose's christening, Prince William found himself standing alone in one of the castle's many historic rooms, cradling his sleeping daughter carefully in his arms. The weight of history that had surrounded him throughout his entire life pressed down once again. He thought about all the royal children who had been christened in that same precious gown over the generations, and all the hopes and fears their parents must have harbored for them. Some had lived up to the enormous expectations placed upon them. Others had fallen short despite their best efforts. Many had simply tried to live their lives with dignity and purpose, despite impossible pressures that few people could truly understand. He made a quiet promise to his daughter in that moment, words that no one else would ever hear. He promised to protect her as much as any father possibly could in their unusual circumstances. He promised to teach her that her title represented both a remarkable gift and a serious responsibility. He promised to demonstrate through his own example that true nobility came from character and actions rather than accidents of birth. He promised to love her unconditionally and completely, whether she ultimately chose to embrace royal life fully or forge her own independent path away from it. Most importantly, perhaps, he promised to give her the freedom to become herself, whoever that self might turn out to be. Catherine joined him shortly afterward, slipping her hand into his in a gesture of partnership and mutual support. They stood together in comfortable silence, two people who had somehow found each other across the vast social divide that had once separated her solidly middle-class upbringing from his predetermined royal destiny. Together they had built something genuine and lasting, something worth protecting and nurturing through whatever challenges lay ahead. Princess Rose was their fourth child, but she did not represent a final statement or the conclusion of their story. She was simply another chapter in an ongoing narrative, one that would continue unfolding long after William and Catherine themselves were gone. The name Rose Alice Diana would be spoken countless times in the years and decades ahead. It would appear in history books and academic studies. It would be analysed by experts and debated by commentators across various media platforms. But none of that external discussion mattered nearly as much as the simple, fundamental fact that this was their daughter, a person whose inherent worth had absolutely nothing to do with her title, her place in the line of succession, or public expectations. She was Rose, and that alone was enough.